Well, hello. Good to see everyone. We are Melanin Mamas Homeschooling. Stephanie and Mary here. We are back on for another wonderful conversation. This time we are adding another homeschool mom, Nkechi Vaughn, and we are talking about quarterly check-ins. Around this time, 45 days into the school year, we usually do a quarter check-in. And so we're just going to talk about what's been happening in our homeschools and just having a bit of a roundtable discussion about where we are. So tune in, grab a cup of coffee, cup of tea, and come join us. But let's introduce Nkechi. She is a mom of three, a Bible-believing mom, and she is an author and founder of YAFO Revolution. Did I say that right?
YAFO.
Yeah, YAFO is how she pronounces it, and it stands for the Young Anointed Fearless Ones, which is a biblically sound edutainment and lifestyle brand for kids. So she was in corporate America for 16 years. She is now an entrepreneur and a homeschool mom on fire to inspire her generation to live set apart for God's kingdom. And she's on a mission. She's on a mission to help over 1 billion young minds break fear, embrace truth, discover purpose, and step boldly into success, defined as doing what God calls you to do with excellence. So, Nkechi, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you, Mary. Such an honor to be here.
Yes, yes. And what we thought was interesting about this roundtable is that we're all coming from different experiences in homeschooling. You have been homeschooling, you said officially, right, for 2 years. So yeah. I would consider you a fairly new homeschooler in that perspective. I am a mom of a middle schooler and a high schooler. This is my 5th year homeschooling. And Mary's also 5 years homeschooling. She has younger grades, but she also has a toddler too. So she's teaching a preschool and elementary school. So we're all coming from different experiences. That's right. So what we wanted to do, if you all who are watching now know about our homeschool planner, this is something that we always want to incorporate for our homeschool, and that is quarterly check-ins. Now we're about at the end of quarter 1, so we wanted to go around and just talk about what we've been doing and how we've been assessing our homeschool based on these questions. So I'm going to start with the first one, and it's very simple. How are you doing? How are you taking care of yourself? Are you taking care of yourself? So I'm going to open it up for whoever wants to jump in, but it's important for us as moms to ask ourselves this same question.
I can start. So what I wrote down when I went through my check-in, thank you, Stephanie, for setting that up, is yes, but. Meaning, are you taking care of yourself? Yes, but not to the capacity that I really want or need to. So yes, I am, because I'm actually thinking about taking care of myself. Thanks to, like the monthly, what's the plan for September? What's the plan for October?
That's great.
That forced me to think and write down what my plan for taking care of myself. I'm being very, very transparent with you all. So yes, I've started the journey of actually just like writing things down. The execution hasn't been flawless, but I'm here and I am taking care of myself to some degree. So that's where I am.
You're not alone.
Right. What's that? I'm not alone.
No. Yay! I'm going into my 6th year and I'm still very much in that struggle. So kudos to you that you're holding yourself, you're being more aware of the fact that you're not doing your best at taking care of yourself, because it took me a long time to even come to that revelation, like, oh, shoot, I am a part of this factor. And now I'm struggling, trying to scramble to find time because of the season of my life,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we've learned over the years, just even partnering up in our journey together, Mary, is that a lot of people do not prioritize self-care. It's kind of like, oh, well, it's kind of looked at as an if I have time
secondary
kind of thing. And we've learned over the years how critical it is, because if we're not okay, then how can we expect our children to be okay or to even thrive in a very happy environment, So it's important that we fill our cup, whatever that looks like for you. That's why we ask you, how are you taking care of your body, your mind, your soul, spirit? All of those things are essential for us to make sure that we keep our cup full, because that bleeds into our families. It bleeds into our children.
They know.
You know, they know. They know when we're testy. They know when we're having a great day. They know when we're having a not so great day.
They know when we're having unibrow day, you know.
Yes, yes, and those are the
us.
worst days, right?
Yeah, they
Because
love us
when, you know what it is, when I look at myself and I feel like really bad about myself, it just changes my whole, just everything else.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And they feel that mood. They can feel that. They can feel that from you. So I try to be intentional about that. And like Nkechi said, I appreciate you for utilizing that piece of the planner, because it starts with making a plan. Even if it's not executed, you did the first step, and that was you made the plan for what you wanted to do. Because that does something when it comes to accountability. It's like you writing it down gives you
write the vision down.
Accountability for yourself. Like, this is what I said I'm going to do. So, kudos to you for doing that.
You too. Thank you.
Well, everyone's smiling, so I'm going to take that as I'm doing okay.
Yes.
So, how about what's been going on with the homeschool? Are you happy with the way things are going? Have you found at any point that you've had to pivot anything already in just the first 40, 50 days?
Mary, maybe?
Yeah, I can go really quick because I have been in a struggle every year, and I won't call it a struggle because pivots are not bad or negative things. They're actually really positive if you are open to it and you can see the big picture of why we do pivots. And so over the course of the years, I have been in the middle of the year and discovered that curriculum is just not a good fit for my child, and have in the middle of the year changed the curriculum. And yeah, it's an investment of money, but it's also investment of time and time wasted. So like I have learned, thankfully, on the earlier start of this journey, that pivots are not negative. They're very important. But this year, my pivots are actually not tangible. They're really intangible things of me realizing that I needed to change my mindset before I started. I mean, we started to find the curriculums that worked. We started to find systems that work. And that's because of the result of me being a part of community and kind of gleaning on their wisdom and their kind of what they're doing and seeing how that can be a good fit for me. And that takes time. But for me, it was really like, how do I want to go into this new season of homeschooling with a mindset that, one, I'm not going to overwhelm myself with expectations that I can't meet. I'm not going to overwhelm my children with expectations that they can't meet. And I'm going to do things that work for me. And if it's not working, I'm just going to toss it out and try something else and be okay with that failure or just that change. So for me, I'm not as hard on myself. I am not overwhelmed. Even with the planning this year, in the beginning of the year, Stephanie knows I've come a long ways. Very, very much like stressed and overwhelmed, even with the planning process. And I started not having a complete plan in place. I just started the year because I know I wanted to end the year at a certain time. I knew enough of what to do in order to get us through those couple of weeks until I had a more comprehensive plan. So my pivots are more of really me transitioning and renewing my mind and my thought process so that I am not overwhelmed and stressed.
I love that. The intangible pivot. That's really good because it you can't get there overnight. That's huge. Yeah.
Wow.
That's really good.
How about you?
I'm right there with you. I think that one of the big pivots for me, compared to the last 2 years, we started a new co-op this year. And one of the many things that attracted me to this particular co-op is that I can have both of my kids learning together on one day. The other co-op that I did had they kind of divided the age groups across the days of the week. And so that caused me to have to drive back and forth to co-ops 2 days a week. And the way that we establish our homeschool we like morning meetings. We like having time together in the morning before we're breaking off and doing different things. And we've kind of taken away, that kind of took away from that. So I'm glad to just be committed to the one day for this phase of life. That might not always stay that way. But for me, changing that after 2 years of going back and forth, just kind of allow for our more mornings together. So that's kind of been a pivot on our end.
That's amazing. So from my perspective, this whole school year has been a huge pivot from my previous 2 years. I'm sorry, my previous year. And I should probably clarify. So this is my second year homeschooling full time. Although my son he's now in third grade, he's been homeschooled since kindergarten, but I wasn't doing it full time. So I was kind of half in, half out, but nevertheless, we're here. I'm just like, where did 2-3 months just fly? Like, where did it go? But I would say I'm very happy with where we are relative to where we come from. And part of my joy is actually kind of crossing paths with you both. Stephanie and I share a co-op. So I feel like our environment changed in terms of who we're actually homeschooling with. And that's been a huge difference in how we homeschool and what we're getting out of it and all of that. But also the system, I think Mary talked about her system has changed as well. And I feel so much joy that I can actually sit down and implement a system of some sort. I haven't executed it perfectly, but nevertheless, there's a plan. We're following through with our plan. And the most important thing, ladies, is my kids are actually loving learning. They're loving learning.
That's why we do what we do. I
can see the connections being made. I can see their eyes light up when we read stories. When I ask questions, they're responding. So I'm really happy, and I know this is not I hope we never arrive. But where we are right now, I think is a great place relative to where we've been, previously. So that's my comment on that.
Never arrive. I love that. It's like the journey just keep on
going.
Course. Yeah. There's growth in the midst of all of that. Oh, I love it. That makes me smile because I don't think I ever told you, Nkechi, but my daughter, she was homeschooled starting in 5th grade. We were public school prior to that. And she actually wrote me and her father a letter asking if she could be homeschooled. And I said, at that time, I saw the love of learning leaving. It was just like a light bulb just dimming its way on out. And that just wrecked me. She didn't look forward to going to school. She didn't even understand how her teacher taught her math. She said, you teach me math better than her.
Oh my goodness.
So I think she just liked the way that we really, handled learning and education. And that was just a big deal. You want to see them having love for learning. So love to hear that. So I'm going to actually sum up the last 2 questions, just bundle it up in one question, because I really want to hear from you all what has been most challenging for you so far and what has been most rewarding for you, because we want to celebrate that with you.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from you, Nkechi. What as a more newer.
Yes. So I think most challenging has been, I think partly logistics of being in 2 co-ops like you were previously, Stephanie. However, both my children who are homeschooled, kindergarten and 3rd graders, are in a co-op in 2 different co-ops that meet on the same day and around the same time. So for me, that's been a bit of a logistical challenge, but we've been getting through that. I think at the core, it's really learning how to teach them at the same time or guide them in their learning at the same time when we're at home. That has been the most difficult part for me to figure out. The good thing is my kindergarten, my daughter who's in kindergarten, she's pretty, I would like to say she's smart and she's open to trying different things. So she's been very flexible with me. However, if I were in their shoes, I probably would want a bit more of a structured way of managing the time so that we're maximizing our time as much as possible. So that's my challenge. And then my win, I think I touched on it previously, is just the fact that when we first started the school year, my daughter could only read 2-letter blend words, okay, or blend sounds. Now she's reading 3-letter words, and she's attempting to read even more complicated. So that's growth. That's huge progress.
Oh yeah,
I can see her confidence. Yeah, I can see her confidence. She's only 5, so I can see her confidence building up. And then my son, ladies, last school year, we would sit at, where I am right now, conference room, and I would watch my son just melt down for hours, just not being able to finish one thing. You know what I mean? We had this over and over. I had to have my husband.
Been there.
We had to intervene multiple times. And that just had me on a search for something different. So on the flip side, we spend 2-3 hours sitting down, having fun, learning, going through our curriculum, and he's asking questions. And then he turns around the next day and he wants to do the same thing. So to me, that's thank you, God. All the changes to environment, curriculum, it's all paid off.
I'm curious. Yeah. Is it because you're learning his learning style too? Is that because it took a little bit of time for you to kind of determine how he enjoys learning?
I'm still trying to put my finger. I think a huge part of it is the environment, who he's actually learning from on a week-to-week basis. The co-op changed, and I think that really set in motion a whole other chain reaction of him just being in a different spot mentally to want to learn.
That's good.
That's good. Environment is everything.
Mm-hmm. Yep. How about you?
You know what? I'm going to just say that because we're about to wrap up is I think the most rewarding thing is feeling better about our pace and our plan. Mm-hmm. I think our pace was I was constantly in this mode of I had to get it all down and digested in one full year. And over the years, I've learned that what am I doing this for if I'm not doing it meeting her pace and her needs or my children's needs, rather than trying to meet a specific deadline. I refuse to do that anymore. And I think that has really kind of freed up this tension that I was holding about, doing school at home and learning and all of that. So to me, that has helped me. And I've seen the change in my daughter as well. And it helps me to learn now that I can do it a little bit better and a little bit differently with my preschooler. So it is truly a journey. And I think that is the most rewarding part, is that you get to do it your own way. You get to kind of make those bumps and bruises on your own, but it's a part of your growth, and there's a beauty in all of that.
Yeah.
Oh, that is
as
beautiful.
It should be.
And having known you as long as I have, Mary, just seeing the growth in you just blesses my socks off. Because I do see the before and after. Well, like you said, not
prayer
after,
work, honey.
But it's still a work in progress. But I see the growth, right?
Prayer work.
We grow as homeschoolers too, not just our kids. The moms grow
we do
too.
for sure.
Oh, huge.
Yeah. So
now I know why. It was first for me. Sorry to interrupt. It was first for me a necessary step.
Yeah.
Now it's a calling, and I can just see, just why God would allow me to be married. I would have been a complete spoiled brat, excuse my language, if I just stayed a believer being single with nothing rubbing up against my own selfishness and all that. It's the same thing with homeschooling. You're forced to reckon with yourself.
Oh my God, you said a whole mouthful.
Right. Calling, that is how we have to look at it for sure. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's a calling. I'm learning that more and more.
Did you have anything to add, Steph?
Yeah, I know we're wrapping up. I think I'll just sum everything in one statement. And that really is from an older perspective of a mom with older kids, just seeing that go away, just their workload increases. When you get older, there's a little bit more required of you. So I do miss some of the more flexible, loose days that we would have. I'm trying to figure out how to still squeeze that in with what they have going on. But if anybody takes a chance to look at our page, you'll see months ago that I was so anxious, so nervous, scrambling about what high
Yeah.
school was going to
Yeah.
look like. I'm nowhere where I am
That's
now.
so good.
I look at my daughter and she is owning
I'm
high
glad
school.
that
Do you hear
I'm
me?
glad. That's awesome.
I'm actually amazed at it myself. And I'm thinking, oh, is this too long? Is this too much work? She said, no, I'm taking care of it. I got it. I'm like, okay, let me know if we need to pivot anything, but she's
That's a
owning it.
beautiful testimony for sure.
Yeah.
Truly, it's been a reward for us. So that's what I would say.
Wow. I really, I know that's going to bless and encourage so many. That's so great to hear. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
high school is a nervous thing. I mean, this is what colleges are looking at.
Serious.
Correct.
This is
Yeah.
the rubber meets the road type of situation.
Rubber
So
meets the road.
kudos to you. You really are a wonderful testimony of kind of how you can be confronted with something that seems very overwhelming, but really kind of go into it with some faith and some, a temperament that I'm gonna do it. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get through it.
A lot of it, a lot of faith for sure. And I'm still figuring it out, but far from where I was.
Well, I just wanted to say to me and to you guys, just well done. And anybody else who has gone through like the first quarter, you are a quarter down. And I am so proud of all of us for getting through this first part of the school year and kind of learning as we go and being kind to ourselves also in that process and making sure that we hold ourselves and each other accountable when we feel like we need to kind of raise our hand and say, hey, I might need some prayer, some support, some, a little bit of a check-in is to make sure I'm good, because this is a journey that, is very costly to, especially those of us who are carrying the majority of the weight in the education of our children. So well done, ladies. And I hope that this next quarter 2, we have testimonies of kind of overcoming some of the obstacles and challenges that we talked about in this conversation. So thank you for being a part of this conversation, Nkechi. We really appreciate you.
And if anybody wants to get in touch with her, please follow her. Her IG handle is Nkechi Vaughn. We'll put it in the comments so that you can give her a follow. Thank you so much again.
Thank you. This has been great. Such a blessing.